Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. 136, Masechta Shabbos. So we asked if up until 30 days, a child is considered a safek nefil. Nefil means a non-viable child. So unless a child lives till 30 days, it's not for sure that he's going to be a viable child. Then why can we ever perform a milah on Shabbos on the 8th day? It's a suffix whether the child is going to be a chai or not. We do the milah because either way it'll work. Im chayhu, if the child is destined to live shaper komoya, then you did a good thing by moiling it. The imlab, if in the end the child was not destined to live, it wasn't really alive at the time that you did the milah. And just like you can cut a piece of meat on Shabbos, you can cut the milah. It's not putting a wound in a live animal or a live person. And therefore, either way, it's permitted. The Alahad Tanya, that's what it says, Safek ben Shiva, Safek ben Shmona. If there's a question whether the child that was born was a 7-month child or an 8-month child, which we said an 8-month child is considered not alive, we say Ein Machal Alavas Shabbos. What did we say in our Mishnah? We said you don't do the milah on Shabbos. Why am I? Nimalami Monavshach. We should do the milah for the same Monavshach we just did. Im Chayhu. If the child is going to stay alive, Shabbos Kamoil. Im La Machatek Mavasu. The same thing we said before. We do a milah. Lo nitzach ala machshirei. We're talking about the preparatory steps. Alibid Rabbi Yezer. Rabbi Yezer, who normally holds that the preparatory steps to a milah can be done on Shabbos, Rabbi Yezer will agree that by this Safek Shava, Safek Shmona, you wouldn't do the preparatory steps, but the milah you would do. Amar Abaya Kitanoi. It's Machlokes Tanoi. It says v'chiyamus mina beima asher hilachem le'achla. If an animal should die and is in the vela, so what is this? Asher hilachem le'achla. Avi ben shmona she'ein shchitaso metaroso. A cow has the same pregnancy as a human. There also, they felt that a 7-month-old cow can live and a 9-month-old cow can live, but not an 8-month cow. Now, if you shecht a ben shmona, it normally, a shchita, even if you have an animal, let's say a treifa, an animal that is missing one of the organs that makes it a treifa, and you shecht it. So it's not tameh. You can't eat it, but at least it's metayr. But here, when you shecht an 8-month-old cow, it's going to have tumas nevim. However, they say no, it's treated as a live animal, and therefore the shechita is metayr. Now, what's the machlokes? My love, the Marsavar Chayu, Umar Saremesu. Right, the one who says that the shechita doesn't do anything to tumah v'tahara because it's already dead. Amar Rava. Rava says, I don't understand. Why are you arguing regarding tumah v'tahara? Say whether you can eat it or not. If you hold that it's a live animal, Rabbi Yosef says if you shecht it, you can eat it. And the other mandomer says you can't eat it. Why talk about tumah v'tahara? Ella, everyone holds you can't eat it. Kula amla meisu. It's considered mace. But Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon Sabri, kitreifa. Just like a treifa you can't eat, but if you shecht it, it doesn't have tumas nevel. A treifa, lava gav the mesa, what is the din of a treifa? Treifa is an animal that cannot live 12 months. So in essence, it's a dead animal, but it's a dead animal walking. Like dead man walking. So even though it's a mesa shchitasu b'tarasa. Chanami, this animal, which is an 8-month animal, is lo shna, is going to be no different. But Rabbanan who argue and say that it is not metired, lo dami l'treifa, because treifa haisala shasa kosher. A treifa animal before it became treif was kosher. Hi, but this 8-month-old, this animal born in 8 months never had a shasa kosher. An animal born a treifa never had a shasa kosher, but also yesh b'mina shchita. Yeah, but there are other varieties of that species that would be born without it, that would be kosher. But here, there's never an 8-month animal that would be kosher. And a nafel of an animal called uber be'emash l'kol chadosh, if it's born premature. So it's like a nafel, and when you shecht it, it will be like a tumas nevela, but not a treifa. Treifa is taller. Iboilu, we asked a fine question. Me pig Rabban led Rab Shimon Gamliel lo. Rab Shimon Gamliel argued that the Mishnah said Rav Shir Gamliel said that Shmonas Yomim Babehema Eino Nefel. That as long as an animal lived 8 days, then it's not considered a nefel and you can shecht it. So the Gemara wants to know, do the Chachamim argue with Rav Shimon Gamliel with that din? Im Tim Slomer Pligi. And if they do argue, halacha kamoso and halacha kamoso. Who is the halacha like? Can you shecht an animal before 8 days or not? Toshma, egel shenol b'yontif. If a calf is born on yontif, shachtin also b'yontif. You can shecht it on yontif. L'chora, even if it's 1 day old, which seems to go against Rav Shimon Gamliel. You can see that it's fully developed. And therefore, you don't need the extra 8 days. And that's how we paskin. If you're sure that the animal is kol chadosha, then it can be shechted even before 8 days. Toshma b'shavin by a bechor she'im nolad hu umumo imo shezemen amucha. So a bechor, you cannot eat it unless it has. You cannot shecht it and eat it as a regular piece of meat, as a non-korban, unless it has a mum. So if a bechor is born on yontif, so it's not muchan, it's muktzah. However, if it's born and has a mum already, it's not muktzah. Even though it's 1 day old, and the chiddush is that you can eat it, so it seems like we don't pass Rav Shimon Gamliel. They're also because from an appearance sake, or it appears as an animal that was fully formed. Which means halacha meklal de pligi. Chachamim argue with him. Shmami, no, it's a good riot. Amar Abaya, nafal min agag o achlo ari. You have a child and the child falls off the roof within 30 days, or a lion eats it. What's the question? It never lived 30 days, but it's not that it died because it was sick. It was some kind of external thing that caused it to die. So do we treat it as a chai? We'll see soon what the nafkaminas are. So everybody agrees, divra kol chayhu. So the main issue would be like by Yibum. You have Reuven and Shimon. Reuven dies, and Reuven's wife is pregnant. But before Reuven dies, she gives birth, and then he dies. And on day 20, the child is eaten by a lion. Now, if the child is assumed to be a live child, if it would live to day 30 and still be alive, so of course there wouldn't be any yibum, because Reuven would have died with a child. But the question is, now the child got killed on day 20. Do we assume, since most children live till day 30, if nothing else had happened, it's considered as if he died with a live child, and therefore there's no yibum, and she can go marry without chlitza as a widow, or does she need chlitza? So the Gemara says, Divrei kol chayhu. We treat him as a chay, and she would not need chlitza. Ki pligi shepiek v'meis. The child was yawning, the child didn't look healthy, and then died within 30. Mar Savar, we still chayu, because chazaka, most children live. However, Mar Savar meisu. Lamai nafkamina live tormina yibum. So is it so that he's considered to be live? They visited Ravidi Baravin. He prepared for him a fatted calf on the seventh day of its life. And they didn't eat it. If you would have waited until nightfall, it would have been the 8th day. So we see that we don't necessarily treat it b'chazaka as if it was alive. If there's signs that the child was sick and he died, everyone holds it's a mace, and she would need yibum or chlitza. Ki pligi b'nafal v'nagag v'achlo ari. The machlokas is when he fell, or a lion ate him. Mar savar mesu, umar savar chayu. That's the machlokas. Braid Rav Dimi bar Yosef is yalad le'ahu yenuka. Rav Dimi had a child born, begot talsin yomin shachim. The child nishtogadach died within 30 days. Yosef komisabel alay. And he sat shiva. Amr le'avua. Savernisa kavoit lemecha. He sort of made fun of him. You want us to prepare the morning feast? What are you sitting shiva for? It's not considered a chai. The reason I am doing it is kimle beshikol. I know I had relations with my wife 9 months ago, and this was fully 9 months. So I don't need to wait 30 days. Maybe it was an April, maybe it wasn't. Ravashi Ikli Be Rav Kan Israel Be Milsa Begot Tlos and Yom, same thing. Child died within 30 days. Chazid Yavzu Komisabel Eloi. He was sitting Shiva, Amrle Lo Sovle, Marla Adam, Ravina Mar Shmuel, then Allah Rav Shimon Gamliel, then unless 30 days, it's not considered a chai. Amrle Kimle V'Kavesha Kol Chadosha. So the Shulchan Aruch says in Even HaEzer, Misha Meis B'lo Bani. Person died without children. V'niach Asishto Muberes. He left a pregnant wife. Im Yolda Yeled V'chai Shloshim Yom. If at some point she gives birth and the child lives 30 days, Arezeh Poiter Imo Minach Litzo Minayibu. There will be no chlitz or yibu. Imeis b'toch shloshim yom. If the child, when eventually is born, dies within 30 days, afilu meis b'tu'una, even if it dies in a car accident, lo yotza miklal meifel, didn't live for 30 days. Therefore, imo choletzes misofik. The mother needs to be given chlitza misofik. Avalom misyabemes, but no yibum. That's going to be the maskonas hagemora kedivrei Abaye. Let's see further. Itmar meis v'toch shloshim. Reuven died. The wife gave birth, and the child died within 30 days. V'amda v'niskatsha. She didn't know. She went ahead and accepted kesef kiddushin from Chaim Yankel because she thought she's free and clear because she gave birth, so there's no chlitza needed. On Ravina Mishmei de Rava, im Eishes Yisraeli choletzes. If she was married to a Jew, she had accepted kiddushin from a Jew. You know what? Shimon, the brother of Reuven, should give her chlitza, and then the kiddushin. That way, you were makayim the chlitza, misafek. And there's no problem if he's not a Kohen, because he's allowed to marry a chalutza. Now, if he's a non-Kohen, if he's a Kohen, we don't advise giving chalutza because then they wouldn't be able to get married. Because midrabanan, a Kohen cannot marry a chalutza. So in that case, misafek, we say, you know what? Most likely the child is a chai. It's only michumra that we're going chlitza misafek. But if he gives her chlitza, if somebody gives her chlitza, the guy who gave her kiddushin won't be able to marry her, have to divorce her. So we don't want that. Right? Rashi says, "Koinu she'im tichlot te'asurlo samchinan ad rabbanon v'charminu nefelu ve'en lecholetzes." We say he's not a nefel. We go on the tzad that the majority of children live 30 days. Only we miut hamotzui, we go for a minority to do the chlitza. Because it's not a problem for the Yisrael who gave her kiddushin to he can live with a chlutza. Or Rav Sharve Mishmei Rav Amar achazu v'achazu choletzes. He says that even if she was married to a Kohen, chlitza has to be given, and then he can't marry her. But Rav changed his mind. What? You matir? You should matir chaylev too. But the suffix is Yevama sheyoda Vlad v'lo noda im nishlam zmani buro. We don't know if it was a full pregnancy. Umeis also Vlad at shloshim yom legaso. Chotzim misafik divrei chachamim shem Elohaya havla ben kayama. You give chol chlitza misafik. B'mahacham niskat shalachim ha'Yisrael choylitz leYevama. Right, the Yevama gives her chlitza. Then he shares some abal and can stay with her husband. Vaya hamikadish kohen ein a choletzes k'divrei Ravina mishum Rava. Shehi chaf Rava hitiv mikras. That's a kula. That if she's married to a kohen,
we actually paskin like that. That's crazy.
We paskin like that. Why do you say it's crazy?
Yeah, because because she marries a kohen. Okay, basically she's chayav chalitza. If she would not be.
She's not chayav chalitza. She's only chayav chalitza misafek. So because
I understand it's a suffix, but I mean even a suffix for a coin, you would think that they would go. They wouldn't
Walter,
go yeah.
Walter,
I understand. Yeah.
Walter, chlutza lekohen is only osir midrabanan. So you have the suffix and you have a drabanan. So it's because it's like trade drabanan.
Sveika the sveika. Okay.
Sveika. It's not quite sveika, but it's a suffix, and the whole issue is only drabanan. So since it's a suffix and it could be a chai, we're not machmir in that case. It's it's very interesting.
But he changed his mind. Rabbi changed his mind.
Rabbi changed his mind to be matir.
Yeah.
Rabbi Yehuda matir. Amar Rav Yehuda lo lakol Amar Rav Yehuda androgynous zachar. Then Rav Yehuda said that you should do a circumcision on an androgynous. And the Gemara tells us that Rav Yehuda did not always consider an androgynous to be a male. Right? We have the din of erech. If I want to give a gift to the Beis Hamikdash, I say erech. I want to give the value of that person. Now, if that person is between 30 and 50 years old, he's worth 50 shekels. If he's above a certain age, he's worth less. If he's a female, he's worth less. So Rav Yehuda says that you not ma'arech an androgynous. Minolan de lo ma'arech. Where do you see that he's not in the parsha of erech in the Tanya? It says hazachar v'lo tumtum androgynous. You can take an erech vow pointing at anybody except for a tumtum and androgynous. Fine. Maybe you point to an androgynous and you won't get the value of a male, but at least get the value of a female. I mean, what is he? Either a male or a female, one or the other. Hazachar the imne kevahi. Zachar vaday nekeva vadois are ma'arech. The low tumtum vadroi. The problem here is you got to know for sure what it is you're doing. Since it's a suffix, there's no erech vow. Okay, we'll stop here.
Koyach.
Okay, shkoyach everybody. Have a good day tomorrow, and we'll learn tomorrow at 8:00.